Oh yeah, Coco mi guan. Sapri e pekigo, ang service ka ba maldo? Si panivian su queso, su ibiti me kakaigo. Sa ou fe, se sa ou we. So pues se pa fe souve. Kana we di shodye poda ywe. Sa mwen duvan me sa de. Oh yeah. Power boni boko say. Moun kreyo pa pran sommeil. Power la clewe kon an soleil. Wazenis away. Mama for today.
Hey y'all, come in.
Oh yeah.
Come in and share. Come in and share the live.
Coco mi guas. Si ni ma ko ni ma kwel. Même bête, même poil. Mettez si vos bouchées de miel. Parce que c'est pas tous les jours qui nous aiment. Bouche femme, c'est pour manger. La paille, barbe, dangereux.
Come on in, y'all.
Même passion bonne pour pencher. Oh yeah. Power boni bon conseil. Moun créole pas prend sommeil. Power la clé comme un soleil. Wazenis away. Mama for today.
Come in, come in, come in, come in. Y'all, I think I need a DJ. What's up, y'all? What's up? What's up? What's up? It is my good morning. It is my good morning. It is 10:02 a.m. where I am. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I know it's about 8:02 in Atlanta, and it might be about 9 in Dominica. So come in, share the live. Thank you all for coming in. I am so happy that Mr. Mervin Paul is joining me tonight so we can have a meaningful conversation tonight. A debriefing on the recent elections, the call for a reset, and observations, perhaps what we think about as far as, hey, where do we think we're heading? You know, and an opportunity for you all to share your thoughts. Debriefing after any event is powerful because you look at the event and you can decide what you're going to keep, what you're going to release, what was good about it, what was not good about it, what can we learn, and what do we do moving forward. So, Mervin, Mr. Paul.
What's going on?
I'm good, man. I'm good, man. Y'all, so you all know that Mervin Paul is the former director of the Government Information Service in Dominica, right? We call it GIS in local parlance.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Mr. Paul. What else did you do in Dominica, Mr. Paul?
Oh my God. Man, listen, I worked at the Dominica State Prisons for 11 years. 3 of those latter years I spent really working with young people, young men in the prison, helping to develop life skills and dealing more specifically with the psychology of addictions. Then I moved to the National Drug Abuse Prevention Unit, where I was responsible for coordinating anti-drug activities within schools. Every school, I think I may have worked at every school in Dominica.
Around the island?
Yes.
Wow.
And then I was moved by my director to working with every community group. So I transitioned from the school to the community groups. So I think that's why I know Dominica very well, because I worked in every nook and cranny of this country, working with a number of people. And it's interesting you ask this question, because sometime last week I was sharing with one of my coworkers that whenever I'm in Dominica, people say, Mr. Paul. And I say, for the most part, anybody who refers to me as Mr. Paul either was at the prison, or it is a young man or a young person I worked with in the community who I was able to assist in getting themselves back on track. And I pride myself on that, because if not for anything else, this is something I did with a lot of passion for about 6 to 7 years. I also acted director of that department for 1 year. And then for 12 years, I directed the government's corporate communications department, which is GIS. To date, I think I'm the person who served as director the longest. I also, my God, I was involved in the Cricket Association. I used to be involved for a short part in the re-energizing, for one of a better term, of the National Youth Council. I remember I used to be involved in that with Ed Regis and so on. So I served as PR of the Dominica Cricket Association for 3 years. And then when I eventually left GIS, I served as diaspora liaison officer in the Virgin Islands for 2 years. I also had a talk show on DBS for many years.
Oh, really? What was it called?
The program on DBS every Thursday night called Focus on Government and Development was my brainchild. I created that program. I named it. I hosted it. And I also hosted the Hang for a couple of years. People don't remember that. And I will say here too, when I was deeply entrenched in the government system, and people hearing about what's the program they have on Kyrie on Saturday night again and Tuesday night? Next Level. I was involved in that program. I actually created the Saturday program. I can tell you, give you the genesis of that program, what was the thinking and everything. And so, so I played cricket. I'm still part of the Starlight Sports Club in Dominica. I played a lot of cricket, broke my nose, broke my finger, broke my knee, And again, I will never forget Cottage. That's the little community in the north that made me, protected me, the elders, the elderlies, I remember going up on a particular little hill above my home to get potato pudding from a particular lady.
From somebody's mom, right?
Yeah, from somebody's mom.
Yes.
And I remember having a very, very close friend. We used to be tight when we were going to Clifton School. Call him Leon.
Yes.
We were tight. I was older than him by a few years, but he seemed to have always liked being around me.
Yeah.
And we were tight, very tight. We used to, just hang out during our lunchtime. We used to hang out a lot under the big mango tree behind the big galvanized toilet in the school.
Clifton School, overlooking my Delta.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I remember swimming Las Quint and Fon and Lamont and Sikwi River. And, Mona Louis. Southern Pie, and running all
those were so formative. Like you developed some really core memories.
That's right.
With experience.
I remember a particular friend of mine. We used to be very, very close. They used to say we were boyfriend and girlfriend going to primary school. I remember she tried to climb a guava tree coming from school.
What happened to her?
Well, I don't know. The guava tree just figured it couldn't hold her. So that's the most I'll say.
You know what it was? Mr. Feck. For those of you from Cottage, they remember Mr. Feck. So Mr. Feck, what did he used to say? Nunca, never fail. Nunca, never fail. You'd hear his big boots coming through the bushes, right? So Mr. Feck had acres and acres of land across the river, through the rivers, and guavas and mangoes were the thing. So coming home from school, you're walking through the shortcuts. And guavas, let me tell you, guavas galore. I remember Man, I remember that. Like, I can see the stone. I can see the rock, Mervin.
I
We
too.
heard Nunca, never fail.
Mhm.
Man, I dropped down from the
it was you that I didn't realize I was talking about you.
whatever. I dropped down from that branch, that guava tree branch so fast. My lip, this one right here, this side right here, bit it on the rock. Man, I had a fat lip for weeks.
Yeah.
I had a fat lip for weeks.
Those were days, but we had a lot of fun, man. You know, walking to Clifton, coming down. Mr. Feck taking a bunch of carriers and the children climbing the mango tree and he let go the cows, man. And children ran and Feck take all the carriers and the school bags and he brought it home. And parents had to be going pleading with Mr. Feck late in the evening
With the carrier
for
bag.
the carriers and the bags. But next day we were back in the mangoes, you know. Next day we
It
were back
was
in
not
the
long. And he had that very special mango tree
Oh
in
my
the
God.
middle of the paddock.
In the middle of the paddock.
Hardwired paddock in the middle.
Children used to jump that barbed wire and go climb the mango tree. And what we used to do, we used to tell one set to look out when he come in because he had a big boot so you could know when he
That's
was
right. You'll hear he's coming. It makes me think about the Garden of Eden, you know, and it's like this is a forbidden fruit.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen,
And you will pay the price.
everybody ate that forbidden fruit, man.
Everybody did.
Yeah. But it was such fun growing up.
Yeah.
And those days, you know, Clifton School had a lot of children, so it was
a lot of kids.
crowd going home, you know, and there was so much excitement on the street train racing to see who would get home first. We knew all little shortcut, you know, come out. They used to call it when you leave Cocoa, Cocoa used to go down through that one pass after you leave Cocoa, going down.
Coming down to Sikwi.
Yeah, coming up, but I had a little name we used to call that one.
There's another name. I know. Somebody put it in the chat.
And then we used to come out right by the paddock just before we shoot up, and then we could go in the mango before everybody else.
Yes.
Across the river, man.
Yes, good times. Look, Ron is saying he's trying to locate the guy who used to live with him and his wife. And he knew the gentleman and the slang he always used. Yeah. Ron actually reached out and asked me if I remembered his name. Yeah, Mr.
Who's that?
Ron Joseph, right there, in our comments. He's asking Mr. Frank Michino. That was his name, right?
For some reason, I'm not seeing the comments. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, Frank, man.
Those are good times.
Frank and my Frank, man.
That's right. Those are good times. Well, enough reminiscing. We could spend 2 hours reminiscing.
Oh, yes.
And it's good to anchor ourselves, I think, in what is real.
Mm-hmm.
What is real versus what we can create. We can use a lot of tools to create a new reality or a different reality that's very different than what is real. So I love talking about my foundational memories.
That's right.
And I think that's where most of us feel corded to Dominica. And that's why it's so close to our hearts. We feel it viscerally when Dominica is doing well and when Dominica is not doing well. We feel it viscerally when we have a snap election. We feel it viscerally when people are expressing their hopes and their dreams for a better Dominica. So
I could see the comments now. Okay.
Very nice. Very nice. So I want to start off with this, Mervin. I saw you and a couple young
brothers,
sharp men, and you call yourself the brothers. I am very intrigued. I am very intrigued by you guys and your conversation. I heard you all talking about, processing the numbers of the election. So everybody knows we had an election called for December 6th. The elections were called on November 6th. On that same day, it came to everybody's awareness that there was a letter from Sir Dennis Byron, who has been appointed as the only commissioner to review the reform process in Dominica's electoral system and to provide Dominica with a plan for how to move forward, a guide. And everybody, all the stakeholders agreed and signed on to that process and expressed their willingness to move forward with that plan once that plan came to light. But we'll talk a little bit more about that. So elections are called, and I want to hear your thoughts on the numbers, because that's the show you all had together. You all were talking about the numbers. What do the numbers, the results of the election reflect, you think?
Mm-hmm. Let me just say, some people might say, well, what qualifies me to be able to speak on those issues? Let me say, I've served the government of Dominica for 30 years and 8 months, non-stop, 30 and 8 months. So I worked across 3 administrations. I served Dominica well, diligently, and I immersed myself in the management of the country as much as I could have, and was allowed to, and also in the politics of the country. Prior to the election, we were having a conversation, these 2 brothers and myself, and I remember telling them I need them to pay attention to the turnout, because the turnout would say something either way, and I was right. Noticeably, the Labour Party was able to turn out at least 87% of its voters on the ground.
Of the Labour right.
The Labour Party, the Labour Party supporters came out to vote. Also noticeably, a number of people did not vote. That includes, obviously the people supporting the opposition forces didn't vote, but there are not also a number of Labourers that did not vote. What was interesting to me, though, is the level of effort and energy that was put into literally begging people to come out to vote. Now, one would have thought that there was going to be one organized body, and because the picture was painted that those independents were really non-entities, that you wouldn't have had to put in so much finances and all the efforts and all the hype to get your people to vote. So that was interesting to me, that you would have had to go out there, and even on election day have mass, virtual
mobilization, mass efforts to mobilize
people, by voice notes and otherwise, to get them to vote. So if you say that you were able to turn out 87%, not if you say, if you were able to turn out 87% of your supporters to vote, it says that it does not necessarily mean that people are against your organization, because clearly you were able to motivate them, whether the motivation was bought, purchased, coerced. That's another thing we probably can examine with information. However, what would be interesting for me is, had the official opposition then taken part, had they been able to have access to some of the resources that you had, taking into consideration all the things which were going on at the time, whether that would have been the same. Now, some people said, well, had the opposition taken part, there would have been more efforts into moving diaspora votes to strengthen their position. That may well have been so. But let me just underline that by saying that the incumbent knew, based on their own polling results, that they were struggling to hold on to 12 seats. If they had waited and allowed the election process to take place.
The natural process, the natural 5-year process.
So obviously, with no real opposition, so to speak, opposition as we know it in the election, it wasn't surprising to me that 87% of their support, of the Labour Party supporters, came out to vote. That wasn't surprising.
Right. That makes sense. Yes.
And so we cannot sit down and say, well, that is what the results would have been anyway. Like I said, and I can say that factually, the Labour Party's own polling told them that you guys are going to struggle to hold on to 12 seats.
Mm.
So the numbers, while instructive, also indicates that all is not well. All is not well. You understand? Now, the other thing,
or maybe things are better than we thought. From my perspective, as a citizen who's been wishing for more life in the political system, more new ideas, people willing to do things in a different way versus the status quo that we've had for so long.
That is another view which I probably will spend some time processing as well. The other thing I just wanted to throw in here is for successive elections since 2014, the numbers in terms of the amount of people who voted or has been voting has been dropping. The numbers has been dropping. So that too is very interesting, because we know the number of factors. A number of people have left Dominica for many reasons. But Maria drove a lot of people out who didn't come back. And I think one of the prevailing reasons or factors is the political / economic situation in the country. A lot of people have just gone on, professionals taken off. You know what I told people? I told people after Maria and after the last election, that's when I knew how many people were sitting on green cards all the time, had that there, and felt they're leading. But once they had gotten the opportunity after the last election, they were like, I'm gone. And so the numbers, I mean, the numbers in terms of the amount of people who voted is another question. So while we might have 87% of Laborites voting, the amount of people coming out to vote,
the raw numbers also matter. Yeah.
So that's just my broad view of
Yeah, that is quite interesting. That is quite interesting, and I suppose just the traction that it seemed like the independent candidates there seemed to be a lot of interest in the independent candidates. It made me think about something you had said a few months ago, where you actually recommended
on our very first slide.
One way to breathe life into the political system the way it is right now is for more people to go to represent as independent candidates. So what did you think as you saw that?
Well, it's so very interesting that you brought that up, and I'm so happy that I'm able to lean on a mind like yours that retains those things. Because if you remember, I said that, and I kept recommending that it is time for more independent thinking people who has political aspirations but do not want to affiliate or associate themselves with any political organization.
And it seemed shocking at the time when you said it. People were like, that will never work.
Never work. Yeah. But you see, necessity is the mother of invention.
Right.
And here we had it in 28 days.
Yes.
In 28 days. And while not seeking to diminish the value or the credibility of any one of the independent candidates, you can see that there were people in the independent race who, given time, will be, and I say will be, formidable.
Yes. And resources.
Yeah, they will be formidable.
Absolutely.
So when people say that the idea of independent candidates cannot work, well, now you may say the two people who won were supported covertly by the opposition. That being said, the bottom line is,
even so,
independent candidates showed that they have a place in the politics of Dominica. Now,
I love that it broke a mold. I love that it broke its mold.
Let's say you have 4 or 5 independent candidates who decide that they are going to get into the political arena the next election, whether it's in 2.5 years or 5 years, and they start now with the momentum that was built, with the fact that we're able to prove, listen, we can create an impact. You never know what's going to happen. And I believe the time is now. People have started.
Pause for a while. Say that again. You say, I believe the time is now. Can you say that again? And I'll tell you why I'm asking you to say it again.
I believe the time is now.
I asked you to say it again because I remember the feedback from the audience when you said that in the summer. Yeah, it was like, man, how's that going to happen? That's not going to, until we can visualize a thing, sometimes for us, we think it's impossible.
That's right. But you
Until
see,
we
the
do.
thing is, and that came from me because of my understanding of what has happened and what was happening on the ground.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
think I'm out of Dominica and I'm out of touch, but I don't think there are many Dominicans who are living in Dominica who's more in touch with the politics of Dominica than me. You see, I still have my tentacles deeply rooted in the politics of Dominica. And I know, like I said, that political parties to a large extent had failed the people.
Yeah.
They had taken us for granted. They felt once they had woven us into them that they could do what they want. And it's still happening today.
Yeah.
So once people felt, listen, I had a contribution to make and I wanted to say something, but I didn't want to do it on any political organization platform.
Right.
See what happened? I mean, let's set aside the two who won.
Yeah.
Now let us look at Wayne Nordy in Roseau South. As an independent candidate, he got 300 plus votes or 299.
Yes.
Look at the young lady in Portsmouth.
That's right, Heather Vidal. In Portsmouth.
She got 141 or 100 and something.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying? In Portsmouth. And then you have guys like Maggie who got 70 plus in Maho. If you hear this little squeak, you know what's happening. I bought my dog a new toy and just want to let me know it's loving the toy. Anyway.
And we're looking at that within 28 days.
28 days.
Without a machinery, without a political machinery pushing them, without cool out, without vehicles, without music, without artists, without anything, with their flyers and their phones.
Look at the former teacher in the Kalinago territory.
Yes, Teacher Muta. Yes.
Look at the amount of votes she was able to amass.
Yes.
You understand? Even
almost.
Even a gentleman in Roseau, got 40 something. So you're telling me that there's not a place for independent candidates.
Yeah.
Well, all those who doubted me must be wondering, what is it I saw? And it wasn't rocket science. It's just that once you begin to understand, and in this small political spheres like Dominica, it's not hard to figure that out because, the heat was turned up. People were fed up. It's a sign that people were fed up. People were fed up with what the opposition was offering. And people were clearly fed up with what the incumbent was offering. And so, and not only that, the guy who won in Marigot came from a Labour Party house. The young lady from Portsmouth, his father ran for Labour Party in Marigot.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, his father was actually the president or vice president of Labour Party at one time, Richie Charles. The young lady from Portsmouth came from a Labour Party house.
Yes, very strong. Yeah.
Right. So, and I wouldn't be surprised if others who ran independent were actually supporters of the Labour Party at one time. The guy who ran in Stock Farm, Goodwill, I think he was, involved in it. So the point here is, these are not people who came from the sky, dropped from nowhere. Right. These are people who came from within the existing political organizations, and that speaks volumes. So I'm not only looking at the fact that they didn't win, but I'm looking at where are they coming from. So if you're coming from a household that pretty much nurtured you and you are publicly saying, I'm not satisfied with what is going on in there, I need to offer myself as somebody who's independent of what was placed upon me.
I have a different vision. I see it in a different way.
Mm-hmm. It tells you, And so that was a very interesting election. And my hope and prayer is that we have a few independent candidates who are preparing themselves, because I believe they can create an impact. I was sharing with the brothers on the program. Just imagine, hypothetically for a moment, that Labour Party had gotten 9 seats and UWP had gotten 8 seats. And the rest had gone to the independents. How much power those independents would have held.
Absolutely. And I think I was very, very moved by, I just was very moved by how much one person could organize and do and create. Because I think we often hear, oh, we don't have money. Oh, you need a big structure to be able to beat, say, the incumbent that's giving people $300, whatever, a piece, or however much positions and this and that. Or who is making threats on to the people to keep them, like, say, in the Kalinago territory, which was one of my lowest points of that election, was actually hearing, threats to the people, that we're coming for you, we're coming to victimize you, we're coming to hurt you.
None of that surprised me.
Really?
No, none of that surprised me. What was overtly said was simply okay. So what was said on the platform was simply amplifying the covert aspect of that, if I'm saying that correctly. So that is not surprising, because it was only verbalized, but the actualization has been existing.
That was very painful for me. That was one of my pit experiences, watching this. Yeah, that hurt. Yeah, but I'll talk about some of those. I want us to talk about some of the lowest points, you think, and some of the highest points of the process. I want to talk about Team Unity. So Team Unity made the choice to go ahead and run the election. Team Unity is young, they're new on the scene. What are your thoughts on how that played out for Team Unity?
Again, in one of the past programs with the brothers, I had the opportunity to interview Alex Bruno. He was on the program. I quizzed him, and in his usual style, he skirted around some of the subject matters. I think I may have expressed that to you as well. I didn't feel that they were going to be impactful. If you're looking at purely numbers, or I didn't feel that they were going to create an impact. My issue is, I feel that they presented something earlier on and left people more confused than they were when they came. And the politics now is not another thing to play with. That's not a joke. And let me tell you why I say that.
What do you mean? Yeah, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, let me explain. And I laid that charge specifically at the feet of Alex Bruno. You were the mouthpiece. You were the one, talking about the organization. When you launched in Kalibishi, And I remember on one of his programs, a Sunday afternoon program, somebody asked him whether the party had a leader, and he said, "Yes, the party has a leader. For the time, I'm the leader." But then suddenly the election was called, and he wasn't the leader. He wasn't the leader. I remember when the TUD held a press conference to announce that they were contesting the election, Carlos was asked who was the leader, and he presented himself as the Assistant Secretary General for the time. People needed clear and precise information.
Yeah.
This is the leader. He is the leader. This is what we're going
in. So the term in marketing is like, confused people don't buy.
That's right.
Yes.
So I felt they pretty much shot themselves in the feet. That's not to say, even if they had presented a leader, say, well, this is the leader, that they were going to win the election. But at least it would have given people a clearer picture. We have a leader, and we have 5 people contesting the seat. This is our general secretary and so on.
Yeah.
I mean, even until the day going into the election, that's when I heard, if it was the day or the day before, I heard Carlos was the leader.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm saying, and I think in a situation where people were juggling, well, no official opposition, or the official opposition wasn't running, we need to know what's our alternative. Right. That's what I'm saying.
Right. So as they move forward, a recommendation is what?
Well, I think they need to revisit, they need to sit down, retreat a little bit, and present some more structure. Like we have an executive, we have a political leader, and this is what we're doing. This is our plan. This is our philosophy. This is what this is how we plan to approach the politics. For some reason, I don't know why, I may be wrong, and I'm okay being wrong, if that is the case. I get this sense that Alex Bruno, as the spokesman, seemed to be leaning too much on Roosevelt's carry.
Meaning?
I'm not saying there has to be animosity or fighting, but you have to distinguish yourself. You
want more edge.
Yeah, you have to distinguish yourself. He was complimentary, on the night of election, and so that's fine. That's
You fine. You said that's fine, but that's enough.
Yeah, let's congratulate. Let's move on. But clearly, listen, Claire, you are an independent organization, and you are looking to replace the current party because you feel that they have erred here. I find he was. I don't know. I just find him a little too friendly, it's like you almost do not want to say anything to hurt him or to offend him, because it's like you don't know where you will fall tomorrow, so you're hoping that kind of thing. And listen, bro, we need to know where you are. Clear. We need to be clear. You're a political organization. Are you in support of what this organization is saying, or are you different? If you're different, where are you different? Period.
So the word is clarity and conviction. Clarity and okay. So I chose to wait to talk about the United Workers' Party after we wanted to bookend. Hey, okay. So your thoughts on the fact that elections were called. United Workers' Party was not ready because they did not have a leader at the time, and so the party chose to sit out, to abstain from contesting. But in that span of time, they followed through with their plan, their agenda, so to speak, to have their delegates conference and to select Dr. Thomson Fontaine as the new leader of the United Workers' Party. Thoughts?
Let me start by saying that I understand their explanation or the reason or reasoning for not going into the election. I don't necessarily agree. It would appear on the surface that you are actually justifying or giving credence to an election that you feel that should not have been called before electoral reforms were put in place. However, I believe they underestimated the movement that was going on in Dominica and the amount of laborites who were disgruntled and would not have voted, which in effect would have been a vote for them.
Right.
2, the amount of people who are quietly, especially people outside of Dominica, being able to say, we need to look the other side. Now, I don't know what the United Workers' Party financial resources were or are. I've never been involved in this. I don't want to speak. But I'm just thinking, based on the factual information I have as it relates to the results of the Labour Party sanctioned poll, and I know that there are some people in the opposition who got some information on that. Could they or couldn't the delegates conference couldn't the delegates conference have been brought forward and put your candidates up there? The independent candidates showed us that they took the same 28 days and put themselves forward and created some sort of impact. And I would want to think that the United Workers' Party were probably more organized than any independent candidate. So couldn't they have advanced the delegates conference, installed the leader, and gone into the election and won 7 seats, 8 seats, and send a message that things are not as rosy and dandy as with you as you thought it was? Because I can tell you, I know the political strategists from Barbados told the incumbent that all the seats in the Southeast are gone.
Right.
And Roseau South is in play. You understand? So I don't know. I mean, I understand the reasoning behind it. I don't necessarily, but like I said, I'm not any advisor to UWP. I don't, I'm not involved. So, but that's just my from the outside, my view and my take on that. Now, Dr. Fontaine is the leader. I know him fairly well. And I believe he has some appeal. He has his work cut out for him, I'll tell you that. And here's why I say that. They're starting pretty much from nothing now.
Yeah.
Where they could have started from being 3, 4, 5, 6 seats in the House. They're starting from nothing. Now, that is not to say that they can't come back and, create an impact. But I was able to have a very meaningful and interesting conversation with somebody who sits in the heart of the United Workers' Party. I mean the heart. Mm-hmm. And the person still feels that the party needs some introspection, where they need to make some changes still. Because while there are a lot of people who know and who feel that what is going on with the incumbent is not what they're looking for, they have concerns about the spine of the UWP still being squeezed and held onto by people who probably needs to allow it to breathe and bring in some fresh blood.
Yeah.
Fresh blood. Now, Thomson Fontaine is fresh blood, and I believe Frank Thompson will definitely, make some inroads in terms of being able to appeal to people who feel that the country is now stressed and the country needs to breathe. But you also need to understand Thomson Fontaine is one person.
Right.
One person. And here's what some people are telling me. If for some reason they feel that Thomson is getting wrapped up and swallowed up by the same old.
By the old.
Then people are just going to say, well, you know what? We thought we had a new leader, but we're being swallowed up again. And
this right here, what you're saying is my stance or my feeling. It's not about stance. It's the way I feel, because I've said it before. I feel, and I want to, Eli, let me say that in a different way, Eli. I'm sorry you thought it was spreading propaganda. What Eli is hoping that I said was that the reason the United Workers' Party stated that they stayed out of the election was because they called it a sham election. They did not agree that elections should have been called before electoral reform. So thank you for that point of clarification. And that's all it is, Eli. And I see my nephew putting a little fire on you in the chat because he knows his auntie is not meaning to spread propaganda. She just maybe did not explain it in a certain way. So it's not my intention to say that UWP did not run because they didn't have a leader. You are welcome. But watch out, my nephew is looking out for his auntie. Yeah, you say thank you. Yes, sir. But I am with you on that. I felt so frustrated in the spring, summer. Both systems have, in my mind, they become stale and they're not listening. They were not listening. They're still not. They're starting to listen, but not. You're not sure yet if they're listening all the way to really what people are saying that they're looking for, that they need, that they want, that they wish for Dominica. It's like they've, in my view, it's like we will decide what is good for you, as opposed to listening to what the people are saying they want and manifesting it, bringing it to life. So we're seeing a lot of things happening that people are saying, we don't want that. We don't want you to victimize our neighbors. We don't want you to stand in their way when they're trying to do this, that, and the other. We want you to make it so that they can buy their gas. They can get gas. We want you to make it to where they're making enough money. We want you to make it to where it's not you alone that's making money. That's, and give us these new and fresh ideas. We don't like how certain people were doing their politics. Clearly, I think, for me personally, the UWP got caught in a brand that was not in their best interest. They got kind of locked into a certain set, like many people, I think, used to look at the United Workers' Party as just not an option. Many people were not looking at them ever as an option because, in my mind, they got branded as a negative, no protest party.
Can
These
I
things
just
have to change.
can I just add something here?
Yeah.
You see, I think not just United Workers Party, but the opposition forces, they're not listening. And one of the persons they should have been listening to in Dominica's politics is Roosevelt Skerrit, because he's been telling them how to beat him.
Saying it. He's saying it.
He's been telling them
showing it.
he's been telling them how to win an election against him, but they were not listening. For example, every time Roosevelt Skerrit would talk about United Workers Party and Lennox Linton, he said he welcomed Lennox Linton being the leader of the opposition. He was happy. And because there was a particular approach by this leader of the opposition that played into his hands.
Yeah.
And he used
him cover.
And
Give him cover.
Yeah, and he used that. That. He was playing the sympathy game with the elderly and the young people all the time, and saying, well, all I'm doing is looking out for the elderly. All I'm doing is this, and they're trying to beat me. It's Roosevelt Skerrit. No, I'm not saying, since he is the center of attraction, I'm not saying you can leave him alone. But there are other things people wanted to hear. They wanted to hear what was your approach to dealing with the economic situation. They wanted to know what was your approach to dealing with, global situations that are impacting upon us and so on. People wanted to feel and hear something comprehensive,
concrete,
coupled with you saying, well, the person leading the country now was not prepared or not ready or had run out of ideas dealing with those things. And it needs to be done strategically. So again,
consistently, strategically, and consistently, because that's how you drive home a point. Consistently. I saw enough hypnosis happening during this election campaign.
Oh, absolutely. Let me just add again. You think Skerrit was unhappy when the opposition walked out from Parliament every time they did? He played that so that they could do it. Exactly. And then what did he say after that? This guy's not ready. They're not ready. You see, they're paying them and they walk out of it. Because he got them to do exactly what he wanted and let the people think, well, those guys not ready. There are times when you have to walk away, but there are times when you have to stand up and fight.
Take the heat. You have to take the heat.
And let the world listen to you saying what you had to say in the place, in the house that sort of, at least there people listen. So I think on many occasions, he gave them the blueprint as to how to win an election against him. But, I guess guys were caught in their own ego, guys were caught up in, and in this thing, you cannot get effort to get angry to the point where it clouds your ability to think properly.
You cannot get attached to your emotions. You cannot.
Right. No. So again, going back to the question as to the election of Dr. Thomson Fontaine, I think it's a good choice for the party. I think it's a good choice. You know what I'm saying? I mean, as soon as he was elected, Skerrit said on his platform that they elected a brand new
used car.
Right. But right after the election, you invited him to your swearing in. The same brand new, you invited him to your swearing in. So something is telling me that this brand new used car is in your head.
Yeah.
If it's a brand new used car that's not good, why you even want him to come and sit in that? No, it was encapsulated well. It's in unity and so on. Listen, we have to be wise and we have to see through those kinds. Those
It was encapsulated well. So the day after the elections, or was it the same night? It was encapsulated well in the with a little jab with a. But I'm going to meet with the candidates who won first, the independent candidates who won first.
I laughed at that. I just saw that as I say, here we go again. Again.
It made me wonder about the reset because I'm like, why are we doing this?
Reset. But so the United Workers Party have brought in a new leader. I still think that has not generated the kind of vibe that one would have expected, because people are still watchful and still concerned about the majority of the blood in the body still remains the old blood that was there from decades, and that's who seemingly doesn't want to get out.
And the other piece I paid attention to was the fire and excitement about Clement Marcelin.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope the United Workers' Party finds a way. My hope is that they find a way to synergize him and Dr. Fontaine. I think it has to be, he has to be more, I think he has to be very important in the party. I think I saw a lot of positive towards him during that process. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I know Marcelin well. Like I say, I'm a friend. I've been a friend of his family for quite a while. And I believe he has tremendous potential. I believe he is one of the bright sparks, another bright spark in Dominica's politics. It is not surprising that rumors were flying all over the place that the current pilot for Vegas was trying to get him to come across so he could replace him. I wouldn't be surprised. I've seen it happen before, and I would not have been surprised if that was true. Again, there's a lot he can learn from Dr. Thomson Fontaine's experience, international exposure and experience. And that would help him a lot, because he's bright now. You could see he's bright. Yeah. And if he can, feed up Dr. Thomson Fontaine, and I think they can forge a very, they can really, forge a very good partnership going forward that can appeal to not just the young people, but what I would like to refer to as the emerging middle class in the country, that pull and push and pull group.
And that would be powerful for Dominica.
But I will add the but here. They must not be overshadowed, or seemingly so, by the old clause. The old clause. Yeah. You understand?
Yeah, that's a given. It
is not to say there isn't room for the experience and those who come before us. Yeah. But it has to be channeled from somewhere else, The politics is evolving. We cannot get away from that. And so that is where we have to ensure that if we go into, again, I will go back to saying that Skerrit is showing it. I mean, you have people he brought on, they didn't even make 4 years, and he got rid of them. He got rid of them. Now, some of them were upset, but give him credit. He realized, guys, so if I'm to stay in this thing and stay relevant, I have to move with the time.
Yeah. And that's what you're saying, that the United Workers' Party has not done efficiently enough. And that's what they've got to refine that. They've got to refine that.
And the process of refilling, re-energizing cannot be done halfway.
Right.
If you're going to do it, you're going to do it. You're going to say, here I am, fresh, ready to go again.
Well, then this is a nice segue, Mervin, because does that mean then, with this reset, and I see that as an error. I see it as usually I think our current prime minister is like just almost flawless with the election campaigning and the strategy things. When I say flawless, it's like he thinks about everything and he does everything all the way to the end, which I really applaud the Labour Party for the way they handled their campaigning. This new reset though seemed to me to be like a bust from the get-go. To me, that was a bust. That's a bust. But all encompassing. Part of it is a bust. I was expecting. It's not clean. To me, it's not clean. This reset call and this reset launch To me, it's perhaps the first time I've seen the strategy be a little incomplete, or maybe say a little weak.
Here's how I put it. Even before speaking to you, here's how I've put it. Speaking to a few people, well, quite a few people have been trying to reach out to me, and we've been talking. I saw, when I heard reset initially, I was looking with great interest. Post the election, I knew in my mind that what I was thinking then, I was correct, and there was some deceit. There was deceit in that reset, because what happened post the election clearly was not a reset, but a reshuffle. You have a packet of cards, and you just reshuffle it. And we can talk about that in more detail as we go along. But so that reset, again, was playing on the minds of people. It was really trying to get people to, once again, trust me. Trust me. I know what is right for you. You know? Oh my God, this dog is harassing me. Yeah, he wants my attention. Yeah, you know, trust me. Trust me. And then you could see the deceit. You see him? You could see the deceit.
Oh, yes.
You could see the deceit in the end result. Because we now see that there was no reset.
So you don't think it was a mistake? You think that the prime minister knew he was going to not really do a reset? Because many people have said, many people are saying, like T. Rump likes to say, many people are saying that this was not a reset if you essentially just wash and bring it back in.
But he gave the indication during the lead up when he repeatedly said that I have jobs, I have work for them to do. I have work for them to do. People still felt, well, maybe work for them to do could mean, you know, fellas go and get a project here and, you know, maybe get to open a business there or something. So, but he was hinting to that. And that is why I told somebody, I personally feel on too many occasions, this man has treated Dominicans like fools. Like, you know, I'll say one thing, but I know you know, I can spin you around. And you got rid of so many guys you went on the platform, you chastised them.
I was about to say,
you chastised them.
There were tears. He cried.
You told us that some of them had not performed. You told us that they needed to be changed. It means you were tired of them, and you felt the country was tired of them.
He said it very passionately too. He was very passionate about it.
People trusted you to the point where you said in the new term, if people don't perform, you'll fire them.
Firing them.
When you said that, it means that is why you got rid of those who were not there, because they were not performing. So you brought in a new set. Only to find that you push them up the front door and you pull them back in through the back.
In the back door. Yeah, that was very confusing and to me disappointing, because it was clearly meant to deceive.
I said deceitful.
Yeah, it seemed disingenuous and calculated.
Yeah.
So I was disappointed. Disappointed.
Yeah, and I mean, if you'll allow me to delve into that now.
Well, go ahead and delve into it, because I think we're speaking for many people who were like, seriously, okay, so I believe in order, right? So no matter what you believe, you have a leader. You have one leader at a time. So your one leader is asking your whole country for an opportunity to reset. Why do we need a reset? First off, clearly we're struggling. I don't know if people can get gas today, tomorrow, when they're going to get gas. Like, the economy is in shambles. It is in shambles. You know, a lot of people are leaving the country. Yes, a lot of people are leaving the country. A lot of people are afraid to return to the country because they're afraid that they won't be able to make their money, or that they will be victimized because they have different ideas about how the politics should be. So there are lots of problems, and we do need a reset. So I agree with the idea about a reset, but is that really a reset? Was that a ruse to get the people to drop their guard?
I say yes, and that is why I keep using maybe a strong word, but I think it was deceit. I think that was deceitful. Now, like I said, with your permission, I want to just delve a little further.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at the composition of the cabinet. Again, one of the things that concerns me primarily is the fact that we are about the smallest economy in the OECS, but we have the largest cabinet.
How many? We've got like 22 people right now in the cabinet.
Sometime last year, early last year, I think, if my memory serves me right, I was privy to a communique that went to the then acting CPO, Chief Personnel Officer, that there should be no more employment in the public service due to the fact that the countries or freeze or hold on employment, new employment into the public service because the country was finding it difficult to find the money to pay. Yet the cabinet continues to be inflated, not just with a number of minister of states, junior minister, what you call parliamentary secretaries, but advisors and envoys, which are useless, if you ask me. Here's why I say useless. And I believe, and that is what is really bothering me. And that is why I believe that Dominicans are being treated like they're fools and they do not understand what is going on. And the country is almost operating like it is a one man's estate bequeathed to him. Here's why I say that. Let me look at a few portfolios. Let's start with La Plaine. You have the parliamentary representative who won, Dr. Cassandra Williams. She's appointed as Minister of State in the Ministry for Health. And her responsibility is to include, I may not say it as it is enshrined or captured in the heading, but she's responsible for welfare, things like the Yes We Care program, social affairs, children with disabilities, and the elderly, the disabled, or the what do you call them? Whatever, disabled people, elderly as well. Then you have a PAL rep who was a junior minister in the ministry, a PAL sec. That is Kent, the guy from La Plaine, who was the junior minister in the ministry, now brought back as parliamentary secretary and senator with responsibility for community living.
Which is social affairs. Isn't that social affairs? That is social affairs.
Yes We Care under you. What does the Yes We Care do?
Yeah, that's social affairs.
So I want somebody to tell me, and I'm a little emotional about that, passionate, I dare say. What is community living? How does that differ from the Yes We Care or from the portfolio or responsibilities of the senior citizens? How does that differ? Community living? Really? Now, none of these guys are going to go home with less than $7,000 a month. Really? No, he's a young man. If you want to give him a job, he was a pharmacist. Make him chief pharmacist, put him in the system. If you want to give him a job, you don't have to bring him in a cabinet, appoint him as a junior minister. No, I was going to make a statement. I'll say it at the end when I finish outlining the few things that I'm outlining. So there is duplication of responsibilities.
Portfolios, duties.
Duplication. It just doesn't make sense to me. And you mean to tell me you're dangling that in front of Dominicans and Dominicans not seeing?
You think they're not seeing or they don't want to see?
Well, if they're complicit, then they probably should take what they're getting.
That's right.
Now, the next one. You appointed Darren Lloyd, the PAL rep for St. Joe, to the Ministry of Kalinago Affairs, urban or whatever, development and constituents. And in that ministry, he is, and it is stated, he is specifically responsible for constituency empowerment. You are bringing Reginald Austrie as a special advisor to cabinet on constituency matters. Are we serious in this country? So the minister you just gave the responsibility is so incompetent, or you're so sure that he's not going to be able to do that And I can tell you what the constituency empowerment is. I have nothing much in it.
What is that? What is that?
You bring in, I'm going to answer you. You bring in a former minister that you got rid of who served 30 years in parliament as advisor to cabinet on constituency matters. That is a joke. That has to be a joke.
So somebody could say that that's just creating a position.
But of course, no, I will say something. I tell you, I'm going to make a statement, an underlying statement when I'm done with that little part. No, that constituency empowerment thing is, since he got into office at some part in his political life, the prime minister set up that thing where there's a portion of money, $50,000 or what, which goes to each constituency office, whether opposition or not. And they use that money to do little things in their constituency. Somebody needs glasses, they can't afford, immediate little things and so on. All that the minister have to do is ensure that the money is government dispersed to those offices are accounted for. That receipts and everything come in, it goes to the accountant general. That's it, you have no staff, No staff, nothing. There's no big hullabaloo about that. But then you have an advisor who will be taking home in excess of $7,000, I'm sure, because you have to get government telephone, government allowance, and all of that. To be advisor to cabinet, you're going to see these people coming to sit in cabinet. I say for fellas to sit down at their home, drink rum, party, and never do anything. What is that? The next one, you have a minister of culture. A minister of culture who was invisible as a minister of culture. Suddenly she becomes a guru, that she's advisor to the Ministry of Culture or special assistant to the Ministry of Culture with responsibility for community culture, or something like that.
And about necessity, do we need another culture minister?
We don't. Because you have a chief cultural officer, you have a cultural division. We don't. So that makes absolutely no sense. No sense whatsoever, and that is wastage of funds that we do not have in a frailing economy. Let's go for a little further. Then you tell me you have a special envoy.
We have a lot of special envoys in our priority.
To the office of Prime Minister with responsibility for electoral reform. So where is the Electoral Commission? Have you now taken away their responsibility and given that to Dr. Daru? Now, I mean, is Roosevelt Scary, the Prime Minister of Dominica, really, really, really thinking that Dominicans are blind to the point where he can just throw out things at them and they'll just swallow it hook, line, and sinker? And nobody is publicly talking about that?
That's one of the things. That's my biggest disappointment with many of our people in Dominica. Just the refusal to do adult things, like ask questions about things they ought to be asking questions about. It's very disappointing.
Man, listen, I saw a statement from UWP yesterday or whatever day they had a press conference a couple days ago, and they talk about calling on the president to dissolve the cabinet and appoint a cabinet. Man, listen, we know that it's just never going to happen.
That makes sense.
But we have to call out the prime minister who appoints the cabinet on that. Now, some people will come at me and say, well, because I don't like the prime minister, because I have nothing personal against Scary. I just think that is absolute nonsense, and people must talk about that. Because, now before I say the because, let me just say what I wanted to say. If those positions were positions which were needed, really needed in the development of the country. We have young professionals who coming back from studies with a master's degree and they have to go and work at Clay Harbor to answer calls. Give them the jobs. If those jobs, those responsibilities were really needed,
were very necessary,
give it to the young professionals who are there available and willing, not recycle people. No, I have no issue with Dr. Daru. He was one of my closest partners. Dr. Daru is going to open his private office, I'm sure, and make hundreds of thousands.
Right. He has other ways. He has other means to generate income.
Street served 40 years in government. I know he would have had some sort of investment where he could at least fall back on. Like I said, if you want to give Kent a job, put him back in the public service. Make it chief pharmacist, put him somewhere. You understand? He's a young man. He needs a job. He has a family. I'm not saying throw him out on the street and leave him, with nothing. But you don't bring those guys in the cabinet, give them government perks, allowance for a government phone, and then you're telling me that is a reset. Who again he brought back? There's somebody else there, or does he brought back? But I mean, what are we doing? What are we really doing? And we sit down in the country and we accepting that because we love our prime minister and we love our government. No,
I think it is just so irresponsible of us as citizens. It's just very irresponsible, very irresponsible.
Well, nobody should cry, because when the Police Welfare Association,
Blackmore,
Blackmore. I don't really have much of a problem bringing Blackmore back as a minister. Although I feel, I think, with his whole police background, whatever, you probably want to bring him back because you feel, but at the end of the day, he's another one that could go back and fall back on his private sector investment. Because if a man's so 15 and 20 years in government and you're telling me that the prime minister fear that you will fall flat on your face crying and that you haven't done anything for yourself after 15, 20 years as a minister, senior minister, something wrong with you. Something wrong with you and how you worked as 20 years as a minister. But the other point I was about to make, this is the same government and prime minister that will tell us tomorrow, when the Public Service Union, the Police Welfare Association, the Teachers Association will go and ask for free, will tell us it's 0, 0, and 1 because the country don't have money.
Yeah. I think that's where the disconnect is. It doesn't seem to line up with the argument that has been long-standing that civil servants, regular people cannot get an increase while the cost of living has increased so high. We see the cost of food, and here we are creating new positions
unnecessary
that do not even exist, that are duplicating. Yeah.
So how you tell me you cannot give public officers 1, 1, and 1, but you can keep those guys in cabinet for 5 years, paying them salaries that each of them, what they're going on with, could be split to give 2 people salaries, 2 young people. So,
well, Mervin, it does seem in Dominica as if, anybody who does not agree with the government, your voice is not heard. So that, to me, except if that's a new thing in the reset where the people who disagree with the way things are being done and who speak up about it, they will get a voice. I don't anticipate that. I was hoping for it in the reset, but so at this point, it's got to be right-thinking Labour Party supporters to speak with.
Well, let me tell you, and I've said here, it may ruffle some people. I wouldn't call names. There are some people within the Labour Party who are upset about it. But guess what? They're not talking. They're prepared to grind it out. They're sweating behind closed doors. They're expressing their dissatisfaction. A number of them have spoken to me because some of them are still cool. I mean, they don't like my current day politics, so to speak, because they feel I should be like a soul going on. We're not seeing anything.
You should be quiet. You should be quiet.
And I don't mind, but they are crying out about it. They're crying out about it because they know it's not right. And like I told a friend of mine recently, I'm not sugarcoating it. It is not right. Let me tell you, my friend, after the 2019 election, I shared the very same concerns with a number of people. I shared the very same concerns because there were a number of people who had been brought back in all kinds of positions. Economic advisor, special advisor, and you should see the salary. I was able to utilize my sources to find out the salary, 7 and 8. And there is one particular person who was brought back to head a particular project in a particular ministry, was going home with $11,000 a month.
And teachers are making, and nurses are making.
A former minister. And still is in the system. And all these people are people with private sector investment. Now, I am saying if these people have special skills that could not be found anywhere else in the country, it's okay.
Yeah.
But that is not so in this small country.
Yeah.
There are a number of people who are being deprived of opportunities
Yeah.
to work simply because they share different opinion. And you're recycling people. You're recycling Rosalind Paul. You're recycling Reginald Austria. You're recycling Dr. Daru. You're recycling Blackmore. Who you recycle again? The others. And bring them in.
Well, I noticed one position was not recycled. This
Which
is a new position that was created, Minister of Investment, responsible for the CBI program.
I think that was always there. You know, I think that was under. Yeah, that was under. So I think that was always there. That Minister for Investment was under him. Under him, yes.
And finance was also under him.
Yes, he had that.
But now that's been pulled apart, and Dr. McIntyre is now the finance minister.
Yeah. So,
and I know you have some different thoughts on that. I myself just have come to understand that yes, while you might be able to do a good job if you're a nurse fixing a car, while you might be able to do a good job because somehow you learned it somewhere, or along the way you learn it, do we have the time for an engineer to be the Minister of Health? Do we have the time for an MD to be the Minister of Finance? I don't know.
Well, I have my difference of opinion on that. Again, one may say ideally you have a medical doctor who has proven to be a successful medical doctor and Minister of Health in the past. So why not keep him?
He did a good job in health, right?
Go to Kasani as a civil engineer, you know, he did a good job, you could keep him there, that's fine. I don't necessarily think that is a very strong argument where you don't see that we should not have a Minister of Health as Minister of Finance. Dr. Kennedy, the one in St. Kitts who was Prime Minister for how many years, was leader of the Labour Party there. What's his name? Denzel Douglas. He's a medical doctor by profession. And he was Minister of Finance for decades.
What my problem is, so I get that, but we have special people who can do these things. I'm talking about like for the most part, like if you're giving yourself the best chance to succeed and to really excel, you have a country that is basically in the crapper or finances, or I think we need genius level financial whatevers at this point.
But again, it's not the first time it has happened in Dominica's politics. Doreen Paul was Minister of Health. She didn't have that background.
I know, but even in
the Freedom Party, it happened.
I agree. But given the state of Dominica's economy, I don't know that that's the best choice.
Well, I'll tell you what. Maybe you remember Caressa sang a song when they had when they had appointed a particular minister, you know, and he said they had, oh my God, a year. He sang that Calypso, and it's interesting. It's Caressa who sang that they had given. Oh, yeah, you gotta it was Doctor. It was Doctor the vet from Grand Fond. Rosie made him Minister of Health. That's what's his name? He was Pal Rep. And Caressa made a song saying that they had given an animal doctor to be our Minister of Health. So we were like animals and we needed animal health. You know? Yeah. So at the end of the day, if you ask me, I think Dr. Mack will do well. I have a lot of respect for him.
Because of who he is.
Yes, I think I have a lot of respect for him, and I believe thanks. It was John Toussaint, Dr. John Toussaint, who was made Minister of Health when he was a vet. So I think Dr. Mack will do well. But for me, the issue is bigger than that. The issue is bigger than that. And I wouldn't encourage anybody to make that a point of argument, because that, to me, in my personal view, that could be swept under the carpet easily. Because I have seen too many times you give people who, in their profession, given the particular portfolio, and they failed miserably. So I believe that it doesn't always have to apply. Ideally, it should. ideally it should, like in my good friend and brother's case, Roland, I believe got the best ministry.
He was the best fit, like the best fit for him.
I told him years before he got into politics. He can tell that years before there was even the thought. I told him, Bossman, I think you can be a good minister of agriculture.
Best fit.
I told that to him years, many years. Politics wasn't on the horizon for him as yet. So, but for me, what is more important, what is more interesting is whether the current leader, the prime minister of the country, will allow the minister of finance to do his work. That is what is going to be interesting, and whether Dr. Mark will stand and decide if certain things are not to be done, it's not going to be done.
Well, the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So what do you think based on past behavior? Well,
past behavior on the part of both men.
Yes.
Again, I say I will stand on the side of Dr. Mark, and I believe he will do what is right and in the interest of the country. I believe he'll do what is right.
I hope somebody going to every Sunday make a show for Dr. Mark.
I believe Dr. Mark will do what is right. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't want to cast no aspersion. I don't want to come and wish him bad and say, well, he's not going to do it. Let me put it that way. I expect him to do the right thing. And ensure.
But given the way you're saying it, I hear you and I receive that because I don't know Dr. Mark personally. I've heard very good things about him from everybody I've spoken to about him. But you're also suggesting that he might be having to make these ethical and moral, he might be facing many ethical and moral dilemmas in his attempt to do this task.
I'm not disputing the fact that there may be attempts to get him to do things that he may not think is right.
So that's why I recommend somebody who loves Dr. Mark every Sunday. All you have to make a show for Dr. Mark to be strong and fortified and healthy, and because you're telling me he should expect incoming wins.
Yeah. The other thing too is we must not lose sight of the fact that we have good technocrats in the various ministries. We have good people who have served the country well. Some of them have decided that they're leaving because the pressure they can't take anymore. But we still have some good people in there who I hope will continue to do the right thing and hold their own, like we say in local parlance. But for me, the bigger picture is not necessarily he should be in Ministry of Health and Kasani should be in Common Works and so on. It's not even that for me. I believe the inflating of the cabinet is, if you ask me, downright, it is wrong. It is wrong. You cannot be telling me that you are already appointing everybody who won to ministerial positions, and people must not let that fly under their noses. When you hear Paul Sek is not a minister, Paul Sek is junior minister, and getting the same salary.
Right. So I was listening to what's his name, Sean Douglas, talk about like comparing the cabinet, the way the parliamentary structure is in England compared to this. We have 22, almost the same number as a country like England with a population that they have.
And you know what is interesting? Having said that, the preamble to the announcement of the various portfolios is one other reason that convinced me to believe that there was deceit in the whole thing. I'll tell you why. The preamble, because if you go back and listen to that preamble, you will hear the gentleman say, the cabinet was so designed and structured, words to that effect, to reflect the current day challenges and needs of the country. Really? So you're telling me that bringing in an advisor on constituency matters is a reflection of the current day realities and needs of the country? What about constituency matters that a junior minister or parliamentary secretary with responsibility for constituency empowerment cannot do? He don't have 15 members of staff. He does not have 15 members of staff. So what is the need for now? If you bring in an advisor to advise you on constituency matters, you bring in a failed minister on constituency matters. Reginald Ostrey was a failure on constituency matters because his constituency was a miserable mess. So what is he going to advise you to do about constituency matters? What is he going to advise you to do when he proved as a sitting pal rep that he failed on his own constituency? You have a minister of culture who was an invisible minister of culture, but today she's an advisor. And then you have Dr. Baru, special envoy. So you've taken away the responsibility from the Electoral Commission. I thought once Sir Dennis Byron issued his report, cabinet approved it, you hand it over to the Electoral Commission for implementation.
Well, speaking of these seats, and Sir Dennis Byron. Speaking of this seat, and
can we not just run into that yet? I want us to really, eyes up currently. And I wanted to see.
I can't wait, to get into this seat and Sir Dennis Byron and these letters flying around.
It looks like this seat is the current running.
But I want to believe in the reset.
But
you said that thing Dominicans should not, based on this evidence.
We come into that. Let us not allow this one to slip by, Dominicans.
It is important.
It is 2019, it was done to us. The term now was reset. So everybody was expecting. Man, in the age where you should make the thing lean. You take off all the excess fat.
Yeah.
Make it lean and efficient. You bloating it. I am very, very, very interested in hearing what is government's offer to public officers and police officers and teachers when they come for salary increase next triennium or whatever you call it. I am interested because you have to find money to pay these people all those hundreds of thousands of dollars for 5 years, but you cannot find a couple $1 million to pay public officers a reasonable increase. Now, just before I put my cap in on that, I don't know if you paid attention to the Prime Minister's Independence Day address.
I didn't.
You need to go back to it when you can.
Yeah.
You see, me, I'm a stickler for detail. And I like to run things in my head, and hear the different voices and hear the different things. Mm-hmm. Many people were excited when he said the cabinet took a decision to pay the police all their rest days.
I heard that. Yeah, okay.
The cabinet took a decision to pay this that amount of money and to pay these people that amount of money. It's a lump sum and they're going to pay it before you. That is putting red cooking butter on people's lips to tell them when they come for salary increase. Well, we just paid you couple months ago. Last year we paid you guys a lump sum for your rest days, and we paid you. So consider that, and we can take 0, 0, and 0. Mark my words.
It's called sleight of hand.
Remember what I'm telling you. That is going to come up in the discussion. That government had to find $1 million to pay that and to pay that as a lump sum in consideration of what you did. So right now we cannot find the money. Remember that.
It's a trick that magicians pull.
Remember that.
Yeah.
My friend, mark the time I'm telling that to you on the date.
Well, y'all pay attention. Remember. You come back to this video if that's what you hear.
Like I told them about the independent candidate and they didn't want to believe me. Remember what I just said.
Well, okay, Mervin, I cannot listen. You have to have faith in people, but again, I guess after 26 years of watching people, watching vole, escamote, murderers, serial this, serial that, come to me for evaluations. Yes, they that do me, they that hate me, they don't like me, they say anything on me. Next thing you find out the person is a escamote for real. I don't have much faith in people. I think that's a childish way to live. I think you wait for people to do and then you decide. So I was suspending my disbelief of the reset request, but um, and I was holding out a little hope for the reset. But then I started watching the letters flying back and forth between Sir Dennis Byron and our leadership right now and the government of Dominica. And from what I can get from, I'll call it a tense and terse exchange between Sir Dennis Byron and the leader of the country, Sir Dennis Byron is saying, yo, bro, I sent you the letter ahead of November 6th. You had the information. And I'm going forward. I'm moving forward with the plan and the structure I outlined in the letter. Because you hired me for a certain job, I'm doing the job. And this is what you asked me for, so I'm giving it to you. And then in the letter response, I'm hearing, no, sir, you did not send me the letter by the normal channels. And I did not get the letter before I called the election. And so who's lying? Somebody's lying, or somebody is using, again, cover to be able to make a case of plausible deniability that they did not get this letter. I've already been done, because once you catch a person in a lie one time, that's all you need to know this person is probably going to lie again. So I mean, I'm not shocked by what's happening, but all I know is somebody's not telling the truth. So
well, that is another very interesting one, because I saw the letters that were going back and forth. I find it very difficult that we all human and we all have our flaws, and but somebody of the integrity of Sir Dennis Byron would put his reputation on the line and not be upfront and candid about the contents of his communique. Now, I looked at the date the opposition leader, Leonard Clinton, said he received that letter. I find it very, very, very hard to believe that Sir Dennis Byron would send a communique to the leader of the opposition. He would have received it on that day. The prime minister, who he has more access to, I would think, would not have received that same communique on that same day.
But actually, there was reference made to that. The leader of the opposition made reference to the fact that Sir Dennis Byron allegedly informed him that he had to follow protocol. And
okay, let us say, for argument's sake, let us say we're not going to take what the leader of the opposition said, because some people their comeback might be, since they are political adversaries, he could be telling a lie. I am looking at it purely from the gentleman that I know very little of, but I've heard a lot about.
Yeah.
Who is Sir Dennis Byron?
Gentleman who goes by process and protocol.
You're telling me that you responded after saying that you did not receive that letter. My sister, I'm telling you, I have a difficulty swallowing that.
God have mercy upon us.
I have a difficult, that is like swallowing a bone across.
The bala bone
boy, let me tell you, bala alone. You know that all these little kai bones, when you swallow that, all of them stick one time. I have a difficulty believing that. There's no way I'm going to swallow that. And you conveniently chose the time you chose to respond to make it look like. So, but what I'm waiting to hear is when the process is all said and done, I hope Sir Dennis Byron makes a statement and speaks to that whole thing once everything is, he submitted everything, because that letter from Roosevelt Skerritt has put him on the spot and made him look like he had done something wrong.
Absolutely.
Now, professionally, he's still working for Skerritt, so I guess he's not going to say anything now. But I would expect this man to come and clear himself.
I noted with interest the professional way with which he responded, to basically say, no, sir, stop it. But not to come out and say, bro, stop doing this. Like, why are you doing this? It's so ridiculous.
So again, there is so much to be questioned in this last 60 days, meaning from the day the election was announced up to this current period. And a lot of the questions still seem to be circling around pretty much one man. Question. Now, why are there so many questions about your activities, your responses, something has to be wrong there. No. While we are
you suggesting there's no smoke without a fire? Or maybe our parents were wrong when they told us.
But that's always true. There can never
maybe
be
our
smoke
parents
without
were
fire.
lying to us when they said that.
But, well, I don't think so. And let me tell you this, while we in that here, and so Dennis Byron and Roosevelt scared. Let me be clear. My friend, the election, there was nothing illegal or unconstitutional about the election.
Exactly. It was a legal election.
According to the laws of the country and the constitution of the country, the prime minister can call election today and he can go back and call another election tomorrow. Nothing in the constitution or from a legal standpoint stops him or can find him doing something or having done something wrong in that regard. But there is something we call morality. There is something we call trust. You took your hand and you wrote in your address post the election of 2019, and I quote, "There will not be another election in Dominica without electoral reform," close quote. People have been asking for it. People have been calling for it. You have heard their cry, and that is where you've brought in Sir Dennis Byron. The question remains, while you have the legal and constitutional right to call the election, what was the rush to lie to people? Why did you lie to people if you knew that was not your plan? Again, it was all about making people believe, yeah, okay, finally our prime minister is listening and he's going to do this and he's going to do that. So when people have reason to see that you lie to them over and over and over again, why should they now trust that you're going to live in April of 2025? Why should they believe that?
You're saying we should not believe that? You're saying that's not going to come to pass?
C'est
moi qui
sais Thomas.
Are you saying if you had to bet, you would bet towards the fact that this is more than likely more?
Well, let me put it that way. He may be truthful this time. I don't know, but it's not the first time I've heard Skerrit say he going. It's not the first time I've heard him said, "I done with that, I'm leaving." And there are ministers in his cabinet today who were supposed to be taking over and be prime minister. Wow. Two election cycles back.
Are you suggesting he just says these things then?
He take Dominicans for fools.
Oof.
But who is to say that when April 2019 is approaching, that
25,
that a few people will start saying, "Prime Minister, you are the best thing. Where are you going?" And then you hear, "Well, the people have asked me to stay. The people don't want me to go."
Well, that's my prediction. That was my prediction when I heard that. I was like, this is just an attempt to buy time to stitch something together.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Why do you think reform is being stalled, though? What is this fear of having electoral reform? Like, why the evasion of something that you promised? Like, what is your real thinking on that? Like, what is his aversion in your mind to doing what he said he was going to do?
Well, I cannot say I can think for him, but I just feel there is something that he may not be comfortable with the implementation of electoral reform. There's something that he may not be comfortable with. And so that is the reason why I'm going to say what I'm going to say. The only thing that gives me a little hope that he may well leave in April 2025 is, by that time, if electoral reform take place, he would probably rather go out on a high, so to speak, not having lost, And I can almost guarantee you, again, I'm prepared to be wrong. If the electoral reforms take place within the next year, 18 months, if he leaves in April 2025, there's going to be an election.
In April 25?
Because I want to think that the person who's taking over will want their own mandate.
Gotcha.
They will want their own mandate. And so Skerrit would have gone out not having lost an election, which is how we want to go out.
Yeah.
There will be an election once, by the time he's leaving, and that person would have won their mandate.
Well, lots of thoughts and lots of thought.
But you see, for me, what really eats against the very core of my belief and who I am is the constant lying to people.
The lying is too much. It's not necessary. And the thing is, for me, it's the lying with no reason to lie. Like, you can tell a white lie if you're going to protect somebody's feelings. You can shade the truth if there's value in it, a bigger value. Yeah, we're human beings. But to plan the lie, to execute the lie, that's hard.
If you inadvertently tells a lie, you got nervous, you got scared, and I can understand. But if you calculatedly
plan it,
tell lies to people, and you see, I was telling somebody during the election campaign, I was looking at a couple of, speaking to somebody and I say, I've never really seen people stand up and eyeball people like that, pleasant face, and maybe because I know the individual and see lies spew from people like that. Lies. I heard statements on the political platform which I know are untruths. I know these are lies. And again, I know I wasn't wrong, because this thing about reset was just to fool people. Reset.
Yeah.
What's the reset? Yeah, you brought in a few new, young, energetic minds. And let me say it here. I mean, some of the young people who are bright people, bright young people, and given time, they will learn the politics, they will learn. My only hope is that they do not allow that prevailing fever
energy
to take them over, that they must stand their grounds, that they must be independent, that if you have to stand out.
They must be morally.
Yes, stand out. If something is wrong, it is wrong. And if it means you have to put your political career on a halt because you stand for what is right, then do so, because Dominica will benefit as a result.
Well, I have a little bit of worry about that. It was perhaps the one incident that I would say that, in addition to the gentleman threatening the Kalinago people with victimization, because that's what that was, my heart broke as a Catholic when I heard a man of the cloth essentially say that people who disagreed with the prime minister were his enemies. Almost suggesting that God would, he didn't say that God will punish you, but essentially he was saying if you disagree, he called them the prime minister's enemies. So I was shocked, because I remember a time when people of the cloth stayed in that role of, I'm here for everybody, understanding that many of their congregants have different political opinions. So that I was very disappointed, and it made me understand why politics, I think, has replaced religion and a lot of our spirituality. That energy we used to put towards our spirituality and our faith, even in God, is being compromised. I listen to people on their political platforms say, what your mother couldn't do for you and did not do for you, this Labour Party can do for you. So forget about Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, that we cut our teeth on. You're saying, no, your mother couldn't do it for you. Where, that reference to, even though your mother and your father forsake you, still me, God, I am here for you. Somebody transposed that to put the Labour Party as the replacement of that force. And people
Well,
say, yes.
well, it's not the first. Maybe you haven't been following the politics for long enough, but there were statements before that. Who do you want, Barabbas, or who do you want, Scared? That was said on a political platform.
There's an uptick in that towards.
Now, let me tell you something. I'm not one of those who believe that as a pastor or a priest or a spiritual leader that you shouldn't be involved in politics. Politics, the word politics. But when you are clearly involved in partisan politics, then that is where the problem comes in. Because politics, you can speak about wrong, you can speak about right, because politics affects the very pastor and the very priest everyday life.
Exactly.
But when you become partisan, and that is why I was sharing with another man of God, why I believe that the church seemingly may have lost its salt, as the Bible said, if the salt has lost its saltness or its savor, where the church should be the barometer and not the thermometer.
That's it.
Right?
That's it.
And it looked like politics have made the church become the thermometer and not the barometer.
Well, I don't know if it's the politics. I think the human beings have chosen.
Well, again, is the kind of party politics, because when you have church leaders, because they would have gotten a couple $100,000 for their church from the prime minister, which is the government's money anyway, they have chosen now to blind their eyes to things which are glaringly wrong. Therein lies the problem.
They're hurting the people, man.
Therein lies the problem. And you see where I talk about independent candidates, we need people who will think independently. Because so too you need people to be able to stay in the middle. Like I said, the church is supposed to be the barometer, not the thermometer.
Exactly.
And because of politics, one of those things, seemingly the church is becoming the thermometer. And that is where we have religious leaders who are supposed to be spiritual leaders, taking partisan roles, and openly so. Now, it is not only those who are standing on Scared platform, It have those standing on UWP platform too.
Exactly.
Doing it.
Exactly.
And so you understand why people are so divided, even in the very church.
Exactly.
Now, when I say church, I'm not talking about a religion, I'm talking about the body of Christ.
Exactly.
You see?
What a loss.
So we have to be careful and mindful. And that is where people have to live. That is why I always say my passion is for Dominicans to read, ask questions,
educate themselves.
Fortify your mental capacity so you can decipher things for yourself. So when you listen to both sides, I will make a decision down the middle, because I will call right and I will call wrong. That is why a lot of people now today are telling me, you were in the Labour Party barely. How comes now you're talking? I remember on your first program, I said I had to be in the mental and spiritual space and place to be able now to speak. And that is why I am indirectly creating for myself a lot of enemies from the Labour Party side. And even some people on the other side who think, well, I'm speaking too late. But that's okay. I mean, I love everybody. I don't really even want. That doesn't even bother. As a matter of fact, that spurs me on and tells me I'm doing something right, because I'm attracting currency from both sides.
From both sides.
You understand? You understand? So, but it tells me that my responsibility is even greater now, because people have to speak up against those things and about those things. And so that is why I say I don't have a problem with a pastor or a priest or a religious leader speaking politics. But when you start promoting one against the other,
cross the line.
The Bible says God appoints and he takes down, and he asks us to pray for our government. So if the incoming government asks you to pray, you pray to the God of heaven to give the government guidance, not to give a party guidance. Or not to openly ask heaven to favor one leader against
another. And our religious leaders know this, so it is calculated too. It is just it's just not necessary. It's not good for us, the body of Christ. It's not good for us. the body of Christ.
But one thing I'm comforted by is that the word of God will remain the word of God. Nobody can
Steady,
pollute it.
constant.
Nobody can politicize it. They can try. The
And
word
it's
of
free.
God must stand up. It's like oil. You pour oil in water, you can take how many tons of load and tie it down, oil will rise to the surface.
And you don't have to pay for it.
The word of God must rise to the surface. So no matter how much you try and pollute it, no matter how much you try and chip it and trim it and and manufacture it to suit your party politics, the word of God will remain the word of God. So I'm not even scared or worried about the word of God standing out. What concerns me is these men and women who are supposed to be called to teach and preach the word of God, who have now become so infected by party politics that they are blinded. And there is hatred. There is a subtle bitterness being sown among our people. And you know what? The politicians like that.
Exactly.
They like the divide and rule thing because it plays into their game plan. That is why when you mentioned at the top of the discussion, the whole idea of meeting with all the guys who run independent, I laughed at as a joke and a facade and even a decoy.
Yeah.
When you meet with them, what are you going to tell them? You're going to take their ideas. And
take their ideas, copycat their ideas,
you're going
use a little piece of it.
Are you going to say, well, that came from Buju or that came from the other one?
Yeah.
It's just like I remember, I don't know if I shared that with you, when I heard on the platform that when I win 21 seats, I will ask the president, I will make the necessary legal changes and ask the president to appoint senators from the private sector, one from the religious sector, one from there. I laugh at
that.
So even if you did that, you mean all these people stand up on the other side and they're objecting vehemently to your proposals, and you're going to say, oh, okay, you know what, we'll take what you're doing, we'll take it, it's okay, we'll take it on board. You're going to destroy them. You're going to seek to destroy them. You understand? So I cannot say I don't have confidence going forward because I still believe that there are some good people around. But based on what I've seen in the past, I have to wait and see, man. I have to wait and see, you know.
And as we start wrapping up, we're finishing up at 10 p.m. our time in Atlanta. Next steps, as we move forward. Before we do that, what was I shared some of my lowest points, your pit experience. What did you see during the experience and you were like, yuck, like, ew? And then what did you say was like, all right, this is a peak. This gives me hope.
Well, I touched on it earlier on. I'll just rehash it.
Yeah.
I think I saw a lot of lies and deceit. I heard it, I felt it, and it was concretized post the election in the formation of the cabinet.
What about when people say that's politics?
No, that's lies. Nobody can make me put no sugar on it. It's lies. Yeah. That was lies. That was deceit.
Yeah.
You understand? And that was not a reset. That was deception. I wish I could say decept instead of reset. It's lies. So that was the low. And you know what? You know why it's a very low? Because there were lies in the 2019 election and post the election, and there were more lies. So this one was lower still. You understand? And I've always heard lies from politicians on all sides. But when you know somebody and you know what they're capable of, and you're looking at them and you're hearing them, it's like you told your child, do not touch the chocolate. You come downstairs, you meet the child taking the chocolate. Why not me? That they have the chocolate in their hand, you cut them, but it's not me. And they look staring at you, that hurts you to the core.
Yeah.
And
some of it is perhaps because you're thinking, clearly this person thinks I'm an idiot.
That's what I said earlier on. Chicken Dominica, like they're a bunch of fools.
Yeah.
And then the high for me is the independent candidates. I am so proud.
That was mine.
I am so proud of Dominicans because I was challenged by you. I was challenged by a number of the people commenting. And on the Brothers Talk, they challenged me. They tell me, moving, we don't see that working. That's not going to happen. And even some of my friends I talked to in Dominica called me and say, my brother, where did you see that? I say, I understand what is going on in the country.
Yeah.
And there's something boiling. And people are going to break away from the Labour Party.
It is, they are breaking away. Yeah, they're breaking away. Mm-hmm.
And that is my high.
Yes, that's the evidence. That's the evidence that we see. We saw Laborites breaking away from the Labour Party and running independent.
Let me tell you, this girl in Portsmouth, this girl must not stop. This young lady must not stop. Because I can tell you, knowing the gentleman, I know he wished he had gotten her as his candidate.
Yeah, she's a force.
Man, let me tell you, she should not stop.
Yeah.
And none of the others should stop. Look at Norde.
Exactly.
Look at Muta. It may not be Muta, she may feel well she reach of age, but the bottom line is there is a space, there is place for independent thinking people to come and stand up. I'm happy I heard the gentleman in Marigot say he's independent.
Yeah.
He's independent of Labour Party and he's independent of United Workers Party and he's independent. I'm happy and I really hope he sticks to that. Let people understand that there's a place for those who do not want to be affiliated and associated with the political organizations which has failed us.
Yep. There's a place for independent thought.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they don't understand that they could be power brokers here because if no one party gets 11 seats, my brother, you call the shots.
Absolutely.
And you can tell this party, I will serve with you for 2.5 years. The next 2.5 years, the other side will serve because we want to bring balance to the management of this country.
Yeah.
So
we need restoration.
Yeah. So do not sell yourself short. Other people ask me if I come in and are independent. Man, I really not interested in the representational politics anymore. But my passion for this country to move away from what it has been subjected to is great.
To recover and succeed.
Absolutely.
Well, it is 9:56. Mervin, I appreciate the debriefing and the opportunity to talk about this in a thoughtful way, in a meaningful way. We are, man, we have a lot of ideas that can benefit the country. I just pray that people understand their power, that independent power, because the power is you. There's a reason people were yelling and screaming and trying to fake you out with music and and tears and all of that to get your power, to borrow your power. And so we have to become more judicious in the way we give people these important parts of ourselves.
That was an interesting one for me, though, the tears. I've never seen that before. I was like, what? I was cracking up. I was like, yo, how much lower it's going to get,
bro. You're taking it a little too far, bro. You know what I mean? Like, good Lord. Yeah, that's a lot.
I laughed so much. I was like, man, really, man? I felt a little insulted too because I say, look at that, and some of our people are going to fall for that.
People are so soft-hearted.
Some people are going, he crying. He crying.
You have a good I was like, bro, whoa. I remember in the US, in US politics, there was one point where they were trying to make Hillary appear softer.
I remember.
I was like, for real.
But you're the psychologist, and you'll probably correct me if I'm wrong when I say desperation manifests itself in many different ways.
And that's all. I'm going to end it on that right there.
Well, you know what? Let me thank you again for the platform. I just want to take the opportunity to wish Dominicans a very pleasant holiday season. I won't be talking politics again until the new year. I'll allow people to eat all the ham that they're getting and all the turkey. Take them. Take them, enjoy it. In the past, you've had ham and turkey being dumped in the sea at 2:00 in the morning because people had kept them for so long and hit them. So take it, and enjoy yourself. Be safe. I just want to encourage you young men in Dominica who I really have a passion for. Please this violence and this drinking and driving, and my God, please, 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 we're losing our young men.
Mm-hmm.
Politics has destroyed us already. Let us not destroy ourselves by drinking and fighting and so on. Come on.
Yeah, we can do better.
I bless
All right,
you.
y'all. So Merry Christmas. Me myself, Mervin, I've taken this time to take care of myself. So I'm barely talking about this stuff. I'm very happy to have had this opportunity to. Yeah. All right,
Well,
y'all.
all right, be blessed, man. Be safe. All right.
Wait. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just saying, be blessed and be safe. You know what I mean? And we'll according to the Rastaman, we'll vibrate again another time.
Yes, I.
Peace.
All right. Peace, y'all.
All right, cool.
Yes.